Let's get right into it. Number 12. Trepanning party hats. Imagine having a headache so bad that instead of popping an aspirin, your local doctor just drilled a hole in your skull. Congratulations, you've just experienced trepanning, one of the oldest medical procedures in history. And when I say oldest, I mean Stone Age people were casually carving into each other's heads like it was some sort of prehistoric arts and crafts project. The idea was simple: your brain hurts, therefore it must be cursed by demons, evil spirits, or maybe just really bad vibes. Solution? Crack open the skull and give those free-loading spirits an exit door. Sounds insane, but here's the weird part: it actually sometimes worked. Not because spirits floated out, but because it could relieve pressure in cases of brain swelling or trauma. Of course, the survival rate was basically a medieval coin toss. And if you're thinking, no one would do that today, well, not exactly. Modern neurosurgeons still drill into skulls for procedures, though, with sterile tools and a medical license, not a sharpened rock and a dream. So next time you get a migraine, just be grateful you live in the age of ibuprofen and not the let's accessorize your skull with a bonus hole era. Number 11. Cigarettes for asthma. Your lungs are wheezing, your chest feels tight, and you're gasping for air. What's the cure? In the early 20th century, doctors would have told you, smoke up, champ. Yes, cigarettes were marketed as asthma remedies. The pitch was that inhaling smoke somehow soothed irritated lungs. Because nothing screams relief like setting your airway on fire. Some brands even sold special medicinal cigarettes laced with herbs, strychnine, or even opium. Because if you're already coughing, why not add a little poison to the mix? And here's the kicker: people actually felt better after smoking them, but only because nicotine is a stimulant and the opiates numbed symptoms. Meanwhile, your lungs were filing a formal complaint that would be ignored until the 1960s when the Surgeon General finally admitted, oh yeah, this stuff kills you. So imagine hacking up a lung, lighting another cigarette, and saying, yes, healing. That's basically what passed for medicine less than 100 years ago. Humanity's collective lung function is still rolling its eyes about it. Number 10. Arsenic Vitamins. Feeling a little tired? Skin looking dull? Need a little pick-me-up? Don't worry, because 19th century doctors had the perfect cure: arsenic. Yes, the same stuff we now associate with rat poison was once sold as a health supplement. There were arsenic wafers for pale complexions, tonics to boost energy, and even beauty drops designed to give your cheeks a fashionable rosy glow. Never mind the part where arsenic slowly wrecks your organs. It was all about that Victorian aesthetic. People swore by it. They'd claim their skin looked healthier and their energy improved, which, sure, technically true, if your definition of healthy includes low-key poisoning yourself daily. It's kind of like saying, this energy drink makes me feel alive, while ignoring the fact that your heart is now operating on borrowed time. Eventually, science figured out that a little poison is still poison. But hey, at least those arsenic wafers gave you that to die for glow. Literally. Number 9. Radioactive water. You know how today people buy overpriced bottled water that promises extra electrolytes or infused minerals? Well, in the 1920s, the hottest wellness trend was radioactive water. Doctors actually told people to drink radium-infused water to boost energy, cure arthritis, and even increase virility. One of the most infamous products was Radithor, a glowing little bottle of radioactive water that rich people swore by. Spoiler alert, drinking radioactive water does not make you Superman. It makes your jaw fall off. Just ask Eben Byers, a wealthy industrialist who drank about 1,400 bottles of Radithor before literally disintegrating from the inside out. His bones basically crumbled like old chalk, but hey, at least he felt energized for a while. The marketing was wild too. Ads promised that radium energized the system like sunshine. Which is technically true if you consider Chernobyl a suntan. So yeah, next time you see a wellness drink claiming science-backed vitality, remember, we once thought chugging glowing water was a flex. Spoiler, it was more of a funeral arrangement. Number 8. Tapeworm Diets. Picture this. You want to lose a few pounds, but instead of hitting the gym, you swallow a tapeworm. Yep, in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, tapeworm diet pills were sold as a miracle weight loss hack. Because apparently, the best way to slim down was to invite a parasitic worm to set up an Airbnb inside your intestines. The theory was disgustingly simple. You eat what you want, the worm eats too, and voila, calories vanish. Except, of course, the worm doesn't stop at just helping you. It steals nutrients, causes anemia, bloating, diarrhea, and, oh yeah, it can crawl into your other organs. Bonus round. Sometimes the tapeworm wouldn't even leave when you wanted it to. You could end up with a worm squatting inside you like the world's worst roommate. To remove the worm, you had to take toxic anti-parasite chemicals that were almost as bad as the worm itself. The horror stories were legendary, worms crawling out in very unwelcome places. Imagine your diet plan literally trying to escape your body in public. So yeah, crash diets may be bad, but at least none of them involve voluntarily becoming a parasite Airbnb host. The tapeworm diet was the ultimate, you'll lose weight, and probably everything else too. Number 7. Mercury Everything. Nothing screams healthy like rubbing liquid metal on your skin and calling it medicine. For centuries, mercury was the go-to cure-all for everything from syphilis to skin problems to constipation. If you were sick, doctors basically said, "Here, drink some mercury. Rub it on your sores. Maybe smear it on your gums too." Because apparently, slow poisoning was just another day in the pharmacy. Mercury ointments, mercury pills, mercury vapors. If you could name it, someone was shoving mercury into it. Patients would drool uncontrollably, lose teeth, and shake like a broken washing machine. But doctors said that was proof it was working. Syphilis patients especially got the worst of it. They'd be treated for years with mercury until they either died from the disease or died from the cure. A real win-win situation. The irony? Mercury poisoning and late-stage syphilis have similar symptoms: tremors, memory loss, and personality changes. So half the time, doctors couldn't even tell if you were getting better or just slowly metal poisoned. It was basically medical Russian roulette with liquid silver. Number 6. Corpse medicine. Forget vitamin gummies. Back in the Renaissance, people were dosing themselves with human remains. Known as mummy medicine, this delightful practice involved grinding up powdered skulls, bones, and even flesh to treat everything from headaches to epilepsy. Yes, people were literally snorting mummies like a bad weekend in Vegas. The logic was that consuming parts of the dead would transfer their vital spirit into you. So if you ate powdered skull, you might gain strength. Drink human blood? Maybe cure your seizures. It was science, if science had been written by a horror novelist. European pharmacies sold mummy powder like it was Tylenol. Kings and queens chugged human blood mixed with wine. Even medical cannibalism was considered classy. Imagine being sick, and your doctor hands you a chalice of warm blood like, "Bottoms up, this is vintage Pharaoh." The practice finally fizzled out by the 18th century, when people realized that maybe eating corpses wasn't the pinnacle of medical sophistication. But still, for hundreds of years, humanity looked at a mummy and thought, medicine cabinet. Number 5. Lobotomy Lottery. So, your mood's a little off, you're anxious, maybe even depressed. What's the solution? Well, in the mid-20th century, some doctors thought the answer was to jam an ice pick into your brain. And yes, that's not hyperbole, that's a lobotomy. The idea was that mental illness came from bad connections in the brain, so doctors would literally sever those connections. Portuguese neurologist Antonio Egas Moniz invented the procedure in the 1930s, and by the 1940s, it spread like wildfire in the United States. Because it made patients calmer. Translation: they sat quietly, drooled, and stopped bothering people. The American poster child of lobotomies was Dr. Walter Freeman, who performed them in his office, hospitals, even on tour like some kind of macabre magician. He pioneered the transorbital lobotomy, which involved sliding an ice pick-like tool through the eye socket into the brain and wiggling it around. With no anesthesia, by the way, just a hammer tap to get it through bone. Did some patients improve? Technically, yes. But many were left with permanent brain damage, personality wiped clean, or reduced to childlike states. It was less curing mental illness and more rebooting a human like Windows 95. Eventually, antipsychotic medications made lobotomies obsolete. But for a while, the ice pick cure was disturbingly trendy. Imagine going to the doctor for depression and leaving as an accidental zombie. Thanks, science. Number 4. Tooth extraction for headaches. You've got a migraine. Modern you reaches for ibuprofen, maybe a dark room. But centuries ago? The cure was simple: rip out your teeth. Because obviously your jawbones were plotting against your brain. In the 18th and 19th centuries, headaches were often blamed on bad teeth. So dentists, and sometimes just enthusiastic barbers, would yank teeth out left and right. Didn't matter if they were healthy. The logic was, if you remove the tooth, you remove the source of pressure. Patients walked away not only still in pain but now missing half their smile. Bonus round: infections, since sterilization wasn't exactly a thing yet. And let's not forget, anesthesia back then was basically, bite on this rag and scream into the void. The irony is that yes, jaw and tooth issues can cause headaches, but not in the rip them all out sense. It's more like treat the infection or fix the alignment. So pulling a tooth for every migraine was like smashing your TV to fix the remote. The next time your head hurts, be glad the cure isn't a surprise dental demolition. Unless you want to cosplay as a jack-o'-lantern. Number 3. Electric baths. Step aside, bubble baths. In the Victorian era, people thought the future of medicine was sitting in a tub filled with electricity. Electrotherapy became a fashionable treatment for everything from arthritis to impotence. Imagine soaking in water while electrodes buzz around you, promising to stimulate your nerves and restore your health. Sometimes it was just mild tingles, but other times people were zapped hard enough to spasm like a malfunctioning toaster. And because electricity was new and mysterious, doctors marketed it as magical healing energy. They even had electric belts and chairs, basically early versions of a taser disguised as wellness gear. Got depression? Zap it. Can't sleep? Zap it. Feeling weak? Zap until you glow. To be fair, mild electrical stimulation can help in certain medical contexts today. Think TENS units for pain relief. But Victorian electric baths were more like, let's electrocute grandma and see if her arthritis runs away in fear. So yeah, when you're soaking in your bath with a bath bomb, just remember, at least your self-care routine doesn't involve cosplaying as Frankenstein's monster. Number 2. Bloodletting Bonanza. For thousands of years, if you felt sick, the answer was simple: lose some blood. Fever? Cut a vein. Sore throat? Leeches, baby. Stub your toe? Better bleed it out. The theory was based on humors, the ancient belief that your body was balanced between 4 fluids: blood, phlegm, black bile, and yellow bile. If one was off, the solution was to drain the excess. And since blood is the easiest to access, well, you can guess where this is going. Doctors would slice open veins or attach hungry leeches to patients until they were pale, dizzy, or passed out. The more dramatic the bleeding, the more convinced everyone was that it was working. Of course, most people weren't actually healed, they were just weaker and closer to death. Small detail: George Washington himself died after his doctors drained about 40% of his blood in one day while treating a sore throat. Yes, America's first president basically got medically mugged by his own physicians. What's even wilder is how long this nonsense stuck around. Bloodletting was standard practice from ancient Greece all the way into the 19th century. It took the invention of germ theory and, actual science to convince people that bleeding someone dry probably wasn't the cure for everything. But hey, next time you feel a little under the weather, just remember, it could be worse. Your doctor could be sharpening a knife and reaching for the leeches. Number 1. Snake oil surprise. We've all heard the phrase, snake oil salesman, but the origin story is even dumber than you think. In the 19th century, Traveling peddlers sold snake oil as a miracle cure for aches, pains, and basically every human problem short of existential dread. The original idea actually came from Chinese medicine, where real snake oil, made from water snakes, contain beneficial omega-3 fatty acids. But when American salesmen jumped on the trend, they cut corners. Instead of snake oil, they sold bottles full of mineral oil, beef fat, turpentine, or straight-up booze. And they didn't just sell it, they put on shows. Picture a guy in a top hat, standing on a wagon, shouting about how his miracle oil could heal arthritis, cure baldness, and maybe even fix your marriage. He'd hire actors to pretend to be sick, then cure them on the spot. By the time people realized it didn't work, the salesman was already halfway to the next town. Snake oil became so synonymous with scams that the FDA eventually cracked down on false medical claims. But honestly, the tradition never really died. Just look at half the miracle detox teas, or anti-aging serums, today. The snake has just been rebranded with better packaging. So the next time you see a product promising to fix everything wrong with your body, remember, it's probably just modern snake oil minus the cowboy hat. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.